Hello and welcome to the Sport for Business Daily, where we are joined today by one-time rugby international, sometime AIB employee, occasional podcaster with the left wing, and for today, brand ambassador for the AIB Goal Mile. Luke Fitzgerald, you're very welcome to Sport for Business.
Rob, thanks very much for having me on.
It's a pleasure. Tell me something now. This is the first year that AIB has been involved with Goal on the Mile. Big year as well, coming up on the 40th anniversary. But you're, as an organisation, you really are throwing your weight behind it as well. The 9,000 employees in AIB, how many of you are going to be actually running the mile?
That's a tricky question. Now, look, I think the big thing with this, as you said, it's got a great reputation. It's a bit of a mainstay in the charity calendar for lots of people. I know myself, going down to do the Goal Mile at Christmas was always great fun. Good time to catch up with everyone as well. I think, look, as many people as we can get involved in AIB who are able to get out, whether it's with your team, with your family, with your friends, with your dogs. I'll be doing it with all the above, I think. And we're looking to get as many people as possible to just get behind what is a great cause. They're helping people in underprivileged places around the world, often kind of with their own challenges at the moment with COVID, maybe are out of our mind to a certain extent, Rob. So I think that's why AIB have been so keen to partner with Goal Mile on this one. And I think loads of people will get involved. An exact number, I don't know, Rob, but I think we'll try and get as many as we can. And I think generally in AIB, there's a good team atmosphere in there. And I think we'll get a good number. So looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun as well as supporting what is a very good cause.
It's going to be a combination this year as well of the actual experience, which is always a huge part of the mile as well. I remember running them in Cabinteely and up at Leopardstown Racecourse a couple of times, and even on the old track in UCD. But there's a virtual element of it this year, and it's all available. We've got the details now running along on the screen below as to how you can actually sign up for it. That's important, what you say about the impact of this. I think it's 14 countries around the world that are going to benefit from the amount of money which is drawn up for this. Have you ever been involved with any of the goal initiatives out there, or have you seen or heard from any of your former rugby colleagues? I know some of them have been out there and seen it on the ground.
I've never got out myself. I know Leo Cullen and Ian Madigan have been out. I think I'm going to say Donncha O'Callaghan may have been involved out in Africa at some point as well, gone out for a week or two just to help, I suppose, people who are really in need and to see the work on the ground that's being done. So I haven't got out myself as of yet. But look, I think it is a really, really good initiative. As you said, like the scale of the impact that Goal has around the world, look, they're obviously attempting to help all these people who are, in very challenged circumstances. That's what impresses me most about this. And you said, like, it's going on for 40 years now. So it's been a real concerted effort, which is always a big challenge. I mean, the logistical element of helping in these places is a massive, massive ask. So look, I think it's a great thing to be involved in. I'm delighted to be involved. I myself was actually down in Belfield on occasion for my own Goal Mile back in the day. And yeah, look, really looking forward to getting involved and just helping in any way I can. Even if it's a small part, the sum of the parts will be, I think, is always the key thing with this. If you feel like, look, I'm only one person, I can only have such a small impact. Is there any point in me getting involved? That's the mindset we're trying to get away from here. We want to go at this as a team, step up together. And I think if we do that and we get big buy-in, we can have a big impact in places, as I said, that are very, very challenged and environments that are difficult for people to just even have a basic, level of quality of life. So, delighted to be involved, Rob.
Back in the day when you were at UCD, I would have been one of the slow ones that you were overtaking. you would have been in full-on fitness mode with Leinster at that stage. I can't believe it's 5 years now since you hung up the boots. Although I suppose the last two we can discount as just having not really existed in sporting terms. How did you find the transition out of it? Because you've got a nice, complicated-looking job in AIB now. Was that always on the cards that you were going to move into the financial world?
No, look, I wasn't prepared for it. I got a bad injury and, had to finish very suddenly, really. I played a Pro 12 final at the time, lost to Connacht, what was my last game for Leinster in a final. And I hurt myself in the middle of the game and I kind of knew it didn't feel right. So got it checked out afterwards, went to an expert. He said, look, it's just too dangerous to keep playing now. You've got this kind of new injury. So look, it was very disappointing. And I suppose the way I've always kind of described it to people, if anyone asked me kind of more personally on it, probably only become more public on this in the last couple of years, is like, it's a really difficult transition. You hear lots of people saying that. I would liken it to going from, like, if you're playing international rugby, I wasn't always doing that, but generally if you're an international rugby player, you're probably one of the top, 10 people or 5 or 10 people in the world doing this one thing at that time. And once you finish and it stops, you have to go basically down to the bottom. So I went down to the bottom rung in AIB in terms of knowledge and experience. So I had to go down to a graduate program. That's a huge challenge, And I definitely would say that, look, it was certainly difficult, caught me by surprise, didn't know what I was going to do, but I got some great help. And I'd always say, like, your support structure becomes so important during a period like that. Where there's lots of change. So family were really helpful. I had a mentor in AIB who's been really, really good to me, giving me lots of time, introed me to all the right people, and took an interest in my career, kind of spurred me on to do, a master's when I finished alongside the graduate rotations. And yeah, that's probably what helped me through. I kind of like to be busy, idle, when you had time and you weren't really doing much afterwards for a couple of months. That was really difficult. And I could easily see how some people who, really find it difficult mentally when they retire to make the transition would find it that way. But I think that's what helped me through it. Combination of, getting up and doing it yourself, but definitely a strong support structure. And AIB were brilliant with me, I must say.
You definitely haven't been idle anyway. You are, as you said at the top of the interview, you're hosting the Left Wing podcast now with Independent. How are you finding that? Because it's there's a nice vibe off of it with yourself and the rotating cast around you. It seems as though you're enjoying it. Is it great to be able to talk about rugby, or was that something that you found a little bit challenging at first?
Definitely at first it was difficult. And there's parts of it where, you need to give everything you have to it in terms of, I think, your opinions and being honest. When your colleagues, when you're only just out of the game, you're still very fresh and you're still possibly in the scene a little bit with friends. And it's really difficult to give a real thorough assessment on someone who you're very friendly with. Like, that's, basically on their job performance is what it is. Like, that's a really difficult thing to do. And I certainly found that challenging. And hasn't always been easy along the way. I think the Independent have been brilliant with me. They supported me all along the way. What I tried to do initially was try and sell in a concept of doing like a Monday night football version of rugby. And that's how the show started off. It wasn't always a podcast. But it was just, there was too many kind of logistical elements to it that was challenging. So we ended up kind of saying, you know what, I think a podcast format is probably the best way to go at this. And I've got to say, I found Dave Courtney there, who I've worked close to it over the years. I'm, again, my podcast, my fellow podcast presenter, Will Slattery, so good with me, really professional all along the way, and just really open to new ideas and challenging the status quo in a lot of ways in there, because it's a big move online. I mean, look, you have to do it, I think, in news. I think there's a big move online. So there's an element of having to move, but Dave has been really keen to push us forward and to challenge, I think, internally and work on our behalf. And it's been a real joy to work with them. I've really enjoyed it. As I said, challenging start, but I've got more comfortable giving my opinion. As you get more removed, you can be more honest and probably a bit more, you can be a bit more negative sometimes if it calls for it. You're obviously always trying to have a positive spin on things if possible, but if it needs be, you can give an honest opinion the longer you're out, because look, they're not always your friends. They're just kind of colleagues as such, or people you've never met before, it sounds like a real cowardly thing to say, saying it out loud, but it's easier to give an honest opinion in that sense. You don't have to see them at a Christmas party or over for dinner somewhere. So it does make it a little bit easier.
So the passion of playing on the pitch, now the dispassionate approach to the podcasting, it's all working out very well. It's an entertaining listen, and I'm sure that you're doing a great job in AIB as well. We'll be looking out for you and seeing what location you're going to be doing your AIB goal mile this December. Ideally, when the turkey and ham are settling nicely in the stomach. Again, the details of how we can all log in to register to take part in that are on the screen now. But for the time being, anyway, Luke Fitzgerald of AIB, Goal Mile, Irish Independent, and numerous other hats that you wear. Thanks a million for taking the time to be with us today.
Rob, that was great. Thanks for having me on.